Hi, I'm Adam Sussman, Partner and Director of Research at TABB Group, joined by Ted Leveroni, Executive Director of Derivatives Strategy at Omgeo, here today to talk about collateral shortage. Now, Ted, when I think of the word collateral shortage, the first thing that pops into my head is tons of people running around looking for cash. And I think that there is a degree of fear that term strikes in the hearts of folks, which isn't really the reality of the situation. I mean, collateral shortage isn't necessarily an industry-wide panic-stricken event. It's really a firm-specific event. Can you get into why that is?
Sure. Well, it's interesting. We've seen estimates of the collateral shortage being 10 trillion, half a trillion, whatever it is. But it really applies to different firms differently, depending on their strategies, but depending on the
So give me an example of a firm that where this is something that they're going to need to tackle.
Sure. So if you're an equity firm, for instance, and you traditionally have bilateral contracts with your counterparty, so you've been able to post equities as collateral. When you start to clear, you're not going to be able to post equities as collateral for the most part.
Right.
The clearinghouses will want cash and sovereign debt, and so for you, you'll have a shortage of collateral. If you're a firm that has a lot of cash and treasuries in your portfolio as part of your strategy, you're not going to have an issue with posting the collateral. So it really is a firm by firm, or the impacts are firm by firm and not evenly distributed industry-wide.
So what's going to happen to, let's just call it this equity firm that doesn't have the correct collateral optimization tools in place?
Well, that's a good question, right? So for some firms, like I said, the firms that have the treasuries, they should be fine. They have the cash. But for the other firms, it could impact what they actually can trade. Can they actually execute a transaction with a swap where they're not going to have the collateral that they need, and it could impact what they actually trade, their strategies, and their alpha.
So what do the firms like that need to do in order to be able to continue to trade the products that they need to trade?
They need to embark on what we call buy-side optimization, right? So we talked a little bit about, or you probably heard about, optimization in general. It means very different things for the buy side and the sell side. For a firm that is going to be impacted by the collateral shortage on the buy side, the first thing they need to do is get a hold and manage their collateral holistically, right? So they can see what their calls are coming in, what their collateral needs are coming in from all their business lines, be it sec finance, be it repos, TBAs now, futures, listed options, and OTC derivatives.
Right.
The first thing is, so you can manage that holistically, you can look at your collateral pool and determine what's the best collateral to use for each individual call. The next step is to actually automate that process, automate the suggestion of that process. So predetermine what type of collateral you want to use for each call based on what collateral is allowable for that call. So you don't use collateral that will be needed for a different call, for a call that you could maybe use an equity for. So you want to use almost the least important, the least in demand collateral to satisfy calls where that collateral would be eligible.
So when is this problem going to start?
A lot of people think it starts when mandated clearing starts, and that's partly true, right?
So June, I guess.
So depending on what category you are, it could be June, could be March, could be later in the year, but really it's when you start to trade. You may not start to, when you start to clear. You may not start clearing the day you're mandated to clear because you don't have the relationship set up, you don't have the new transactions that day. For whatever reason, you may not start to clear the day that you're mandated to clear. You just may not be trading those derivatives.
So when you say you may not be able to clear the day that you're mandated to clear, I guess what you mean is you're not going to be able to initiate any new trades that are required to clear.
Exactly, that are required to clear. So if you don't have a clearing broker in place, and you want to transact a swap that would be required to clear, but you don't have a clearing broker in place, you can't transact that swap, and not until you have that relationship in place and it's all set up can you. So it's really two steps. You need to be mandated to clear, and then you'll be able to clear, and that's when the collateral shortage will start to.
So the best way to avoid needing to optimize your collateralization is to not be ready to clear.
Not trade. Right? If you don't trade, then there's no problem. You will not have a problem with your collateral.
How aware are the kinds of firms that are going to be most impacted by this? Are they?
Yeah, it really runs the gambit. I mean, I've talked to some firms, and they're very well aware of what they're going to need, and they're well on their way to setting up the clearing relationships and coming up with plans on how to handle any collateral shortage. There's many that haven't, though. I think that that the term collateral optimization has been thrown out there, and the term collateral shortage, like you alluded to, is something that sounds scary and people have talked about. But I don't know that there are that many firms that really fully understand how it specifically applies to them.
Right.
And then once you can understand how it specifically applies to you, then you can come up with plans on how to approach it and how to tackle the problem.
Well, and I think that's kind of scary from an investor's perspective. Now I'm thinking back to my portfolio of mutual funds and thinking, well, gee, I kind of want to know if they're ready to clear and be fully collaterally optimized. Otherwise, there might be significant negative performance issues.
I certainly think that operational due diligence on who you place your money with is becoming more and more important.
Yeah, I wonder if there's even an opportunity for folks that are ready to make a point of that.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. Ted Leveroni from Omgeo, Executive Director of Derivative Strategy. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Adam.